Take it. There we go. Ah, that's a thumbnail. Guys, we are back in the shop, and I'm going to put this arrow down before I crack my lens. I feel like it's been a minute since I've made a video in here. It's been, I think, only 2, but I don't know. It's good to be back. It's nice to be in the air conditioning, considering that today is like 100 degrees outside. I wanted to make a pretty quick video today, and we're probably going to mix in some shooting later on in the video, but just going over my hunting arrows this year. This is really the first year that I've had 2 separate arrow builds for 2 different types of hunting, one for whitetail, one for muleys, or just anything out west. You know, hopefully the elk application comes through in Nebraska this year for me. That'd be pretty sweet. But really, the 2 separate builds started off just from wanting to test stuff out. You know, I wanted to get the best of both worlds as far as both categories went. And there always should be that constant evolution of knowledge in whatever you do, whether it's archery or you know, something else that you're passionate about. You should always want to learn more of it, and in exchange you get more out of it. That's just what I think, at least. But you know, when you're trying to learn a lot of stuff about arrows, I feel like, especially about arrows nowadays, there's a lot of kind of snake oil out there. So you could have a very drastic build that is the right way to do it. Depending on who you listen to, you could have a 350 grain arrow shooting a 4-blade broadhead up front, fixed blade, and it's gonna be the thing that kills everything in North America. Or you could have a 700 grain tow missile going at a whitetail deer that's super wired out down south, and you know, that's obviously going to work really, really well. So there's a little bit of kind of deceptiveness in arrow methodology today. So I figure there's really no better way to put your money where your mouth is than to make the arrows that you're going to be throwing at animals this fall and really put them to the test. Now, this by no means is saying that you should be doing what I'm doing. This is just me testing out what I think is gonna work, and there's a reason why I have 2 different setups. I'm gonna figure out which one works the best, and next year, my arrow build or builds are gonna kind of lean more towards that side of the bell curve for the technology or whatever I'm gonna be doing on it. So I guess to kick things off, this is gonna be my out west arrow. This really is the thing that is redlining the most for me. It's the thing that's going to be pushing the norm, or I guess pushing what I'm used to. But I'll kind of go into it, give a breakdown, and just kind of talk through my methodology of what this arrow is and why I built it like this. So starting off, you know, I'm shooting an Easton Axis. This is the same shaft that I've shot for 3 or 4 years now. I switched up to a 300 spine this year just because I added a 50 grain hit insert up front instead of the normal 15 one. I wanted a little bit more weight up front and just kind of increase the total arrow weight. I saw my bow pick up a little bit of speed this year when I switched over to the Elite Omnia. So I just wanted to kind of make up for it, get my arrow in that sweet spot of speed where it's not going too fast to not steer, but at the same time, it's not going too slow that animals can duck the string or duck the arrow or anything like that. So yeah, carbon to carbon, it's 25.5 inches. I'm shooting crossbow bolts at this point. I feel like my draw length is getting shorter. I'm not having fun, and it's not enjoyable having short arms. But then the 50 grains up front with the insert. The broadhead that I'm shooting this year is my first time trying this guy out. This is the NAP Kill Zone. It's a very, very tried and true broadhead, or I guess a very tried broadhead, I should say. Been around for a really long time. I like the design, kind of that forward opening or rear deploying. The ones that sweep out like that and drop out, so you don't have to fold back. You're just dropping out and sweeping down. From a physics standpoint, it made a lot more sense to me to go with a broadhead like this, just because it requires less force to open up on impact. That is irrefutable. You spend a lot less energy sweeping back like that than you do opening up. I shot Schwackers last year and they worked like magic on my velvet buck. I got an absolutely beautiful pass through, and I figure if I was shooting a broadhead last year that had to fold open, and I'm shooting one that just sweeps back like that this year, you know, I should get even better penetration. But yeah, it's pretty bare bones up front, just the 2-blade mechanical. In the back here, I wanted to switch things up a little bit. So of course you got to go with the blue, but I am shooting the 2.25 Boning X vanes. I feel like I'm kind of cheating on my tack driver vanes here because I shot those last year. I shot the 2.75s last year, so a little bit longer than these, and they're also higher profile. And I did a 4 fletch on these guys here. Now, my thinking behind that is that you're adding a 4 fletch with a slight helical on here. I'd say probably a 3 or 4 degree helical, just fleshed it up with a Bitzenberger. You're getting that spinning and you're getting that nice rotation. And with that lower profile vane, I don't think I'm gonna get a lot of parachuting out to distance because it's still sticking to that lower profile. In return, that's not gonna give a lot of steering since you have a lower profile vane, but that's why I'm shooting mechanical up front. You don't really need a whole lot of steering. I just want to have a little bit of stability and have those 4 vanes to keep that rotation and keep that arrow spinning quite a bit in the air. So hopefully it holds a little bit more accuracy. And ideally I'm shooting an animal before my arrows start to parachute. Then in the back, I just have the normal Easton X-Knock. Really nothing special about that. This arrow in total is coming in at just under 480 grains. So that really for Western arrows is where I have my sweet spot at. And yes, this is an arrow that I would shoot at an elk. Definitely something I'd shoot at a mule deer. So I don't know, that's really putting my money where my mouth is if I get lucky enough to draw an elk tag this year and have to sling this thing in an elk. At the end of the day, I'm really of the belief that accuracy is gonna do a lot better for you than having a super heavy arrow. I would much rather shoot a 480 grain arrow and hit it behind the shoulder blade, right in the vitals and get a pass through or at least hit the heart and a lung, then shoot a 700 grain arrow with whatever percent FOC that you need and hit it in the shoulder blade and maybe not even get through the shoulder blade at that point with that heavy of an arrow. Also, your sight tape looks absolutely nuts with that heavy of an arrow, so good luck shooting to 60 yards. But yeah, I definitely think that this arrow is built for accuracy. That's kind of what I went for with this arrow, is just build a absolute dart. Try to get it right where I want it this year and hopefully collect out west on a mule deer. Whether it be a doe or a buck, spot and stock is my favorite type of hunting to do, especially in Nebraska. So I'm hoping that I get to put these bad boys to good use. Now, after I get done out west, after it gets way too cold for me to sleep outside, I'm gonna be switching over to this arrow here. This is my Whitetail arrow. This is a little bit more of a comfort zone arrow for me, where I'm a little bit used to it. It's still heavier than any arrow that I've shot, but I really like it so far. I've shot it. Heavier arrows just make your bow quieter. I'm shooting this out of my blackout bow that I have. I made a video on it. You can check it out here if you'd like to. But that thing just shoots smooth shooting this guy out of here. So I'll kind of give the rundown on that. First of all, starting out with the shaft, it is a Blackout Envy X3 arrow. I kind of went over this in my lighted knock video, but I wanted to go with a blackout shaft just because I wanted to still prove that point of you can shoot deer, with a budget setup, with a budget bow, with budget arrows. You can do it, absolutely. Now up front here, you're looking at a 3-blade broadhead. This is tentative to change. I might switch this up to a 4-blade, or at least a 2-blade with 2 bleeders on the side of it, and kind of toy around with that, see how that flies. But right now I just have a G5 Montec on there. That's a 100 grain head up there, and then underneath I have a 100 grain brass insert. I forget who makes this. I don't think it's the gold tip brass ones, just off the top of my head. If they aren't, I'll correct myself. But yeah, I have 100 grains up there. In the back here, I'm sticking with 4 fletch again. So kind of going against the norm. There's a lot of movement towards saying, like 4 fletch is bad, 3 fletch with a helical is the way to go. My chimp brain is stuck on 4 fletch, so I'm just gonna stick with that for this season. But yeah, 4 fletch with the Blazer vanes. These are definitely very loud vanes. That's obvious. We aren't keeping that a secret. A little lighted knock on the back here. Unless things go wrong with my main setup for out west, this thing is only going to see action out of a tree stand or a ground blind. So a lot more controlled environment, with cameras and the hunting side of things. So the lighted knocks are going to be a little bit easier just to see that arrow path, see the shot placement just from a visual side, for the people out hunting. And then also on the camera side, I do want to have good content out of a tree stand. That's the one thing that I didn't really like with my velvet buck video last year, is that you just couldn't really see where the arrow went. I think that was a mix of a couple things, but hopefully with this lighted nock, you will see that arrow slip right into the vitals this year and just look real pretty on the camera. So this arrow weight in total is coming in just over 500 grains. I think this thing is about 508 grains last time I weighed it. That's just off the top of my head, so don't quote me on that. But yeah, I'm really excited for it. Out of both of the builds, this one is really something that I'm looking forward to seeing what is going to happen, especially if I do switch up the broadhead. You know, if I go to a little bit wider cutting diameter 2-blade with some bleeders on there, this thing seems like it could do quite a bit of damage. You know, standard diameter arrows are becoming like muskets nowadays, just no one uses them anymore. So hopefully I can kind of let old times roll and drop a deer or two with these arrows this year. But yeah, these are both my builds for the year. I'll go ahead and cut in some B-roll of just shooting these guys, and we'll kind of see how it rolls. We'll see how they fly. You'll get a good idea of kind of that arc on the heavier arrows versus those lighter arrows coming out of the Omnia, and we'll just kind of see how they fly. On the camera bag, my rangefinder is over there. That's pretty good. Right now this is 40. I'm just gonna kind of get us in the ballpark, and then next set we'll probably back out to 60 here and see how it's going. Got the sight tape for that guy. Gonna go ahead, find the mark, put the sight tape on, just double check it, and shoot that second bow real quick. That'll be good to go. But yeah, that's that, guys. So I got my 60-yard mark right there. I was just doing a few more arrows just to confirm it and then finish up and obviously get it on video. Just putting the arrows on display. I've noticed with the arrows coming out the Omnia and then the arrows coming out this guy, those 5mm and then those standard diameter arrows, you know, at least the standard diameter arrows that I'm going to be rolling out of this guy, it's definitely a little bit more weight than I'm used to. So you can see those arrows when they're arcing. It's pretty extreme, but you know, I'm not planning on taking any shots past 30-40 yards. So I don't know, it's fun. But really, other than that, that's all for today. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, just kind of going into what I'm gonna be shooting. If you guys drew any inspiration from it, let me know, leave a comment. If you guys have any tips on my build, either for kind of last minute tweaks or for next year or anything like that, I'm open ears. This is just really all tinkering, getting used to setups and everything. But yeah, if you guys like the video, make sure you like the video, subscribe, and then I talked about it on my last video, but I'll say it again on this video. Make sure you guys follow me on Instagram. It's a lot easier to track stuff there, to engage, and I'm trying to grow this. I'm trying to do this so I can do it a lot more, put more time into it, and just put more quality into it, because I get a lot of enjoyment out of it, and you know, it makes me happy seeing some of you guys get enjoyment out of it. So until then, guys, have a good one. Keep staying tuned. We'll see ya.